Good afternoon. It is Thursday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Today is another in our series of joint co-hosted informational webinars with between WiLS and EBSCO, our vendor partner. I am joined here today, as always, by Paula Brewster, and joining us for the first time today is Lauri Mcintosh.
Hello.
Going to give us some overview and information about BiblioGraph. So Lauri, I'm actually going to just stop sharing my screen, and that should empower you to share yours, and we'll be off to the races.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm going to just start by going through a quick PowerPoint so that you can kind of become familiar with all things BiblioGraph, and then if time allows, we'll go into a live environment as well. So as Jeff said, my name is Lauri Mcintosh, and I am the sales manager for all things BiblioGraph. And if you are familiar with the EBSCO Link Data Solution, you might have heard it referred to previously as Link Library Service. But last fall, we rebranded as BiblioGraph, really bringing the full story of linked data, syndication, and enrichment out there for libraries. So essentially, one of our goals with the whole get your data out there on the web is to unlock those items from outside of your catalog and to meet users where they're at out there on the web, and allow you with tools to connect to your community, not just in conversation, but to also have a virtual shelf of your library on their website and draw users straight back into your catalog. And BiblioGraph has all of the tools that allow you to be able to do that. So for those of you that might think, well, linked data, what is that? I mean, what is that really? So I wanted to just kind of give a little fundamental recap of linked data and how it applies to libraries. So if you think of yourself being at a party, maybe you don't even know it's a party. You walk into a room and you see 3 people sitting there and you think, oh, who are they? Well, everybody has a name tag. So now you know who they are, but that's really all you know. You have no idea how they're connected. Well, you know that there's a lot of different relationship possibilities. They might be best friends, they might be siblings, they might be your neighbor. So you can start to see connections between the people when you apply those relationships. Well, then take that a little bit broader. Well, this is a party and it's hosted by a particular person, but it's celebrating Tom's birthday, and Tom's birthday falls on a particular date. So you can start to see now all of these different connections between the individual people. So what does that look like in the world of library data? Because we know that every item has a cataloged record, and there's a 100 field, and there's a subject heading. Well, there might be multiple subject headings, and all sorts of bits of information about a single item record. Well, how do I build those connections with other items, not only in my catalog, but perhaps even with other library catalogs? Or even more so, how do I build those connections between information I might find from other authoritative resources like Wikidata? Or how do I take a look of a curated list that's provided by NRPs, and then I want to take a look at that as it compares to my data? So now with BiblioGraph and linked data, you can not only see connections within your catalog, but you can start to see connections and relationships with items outside your catalog. So we use the vocabulary of BIBFRAME to do that. And if you've been around for a while, you know that the Library of Congress, in partnership with a team called Zafira, started on that first iteration of BIBFRAME vocabulary. And from there, things have started to expand. EBSCO is now currently working with the Library of Congress to incorporate BIBFRAME as potentially the next replacement for MARC. I'm not saying it's replacing MARC. Somebody asked me that the other day, and I said, well, I think that BIBFRAME is to library records what electric cars are to transportation. Is it a possibility? Yes. But it's going to take a while. And for now, you can still go to the pump and fill up your diesel truck in my neighborhood at $5 a gallon. But here is an example of a MARC record. So ILSs throughout all internationally and otherwise know that a 100 field is the author, if the subject field A, and then you can have birth and death dates in that subject field D. But the web has no idea about what that is. The web does understand what a creator is, that it's a person that has an impact or an influence on something being made, or in this case, written. And so when we take all of that MARC data and we transform it into unique identifiers known as BIBFRAME, we now can publish that information out there on the web. So in this example, I'm at DC Library and I see Albert Einstein has an identifier here. If you can read the small print, RH5, da-da-da-da-da-da. That's the same identifier that's going to be used whether I'm at DC, whether I'm in Wisconsin, or whether you're here with me in Washington State. So now I can start to take the person of Albert Einstein as a creator and start to see all those additional connections to that person, regardless of where I'm located. And I can see all of the different subject areas and his connection to each of those. So how does that work behind the scenes? We receive your data here at EBSCO. There's a lot of different ways that people can provide data to us, but we'll receive a monthly export of your catalog. And from there, we're going to transform that into BIBFRAME data. Once that data has been transformed into BIBFRAME, we're going to build all of those relationships and those connections, and we're going to associate it to a unique graph for your library of all of your content. From there, we're going to publish that onto the library link network. So now is your data not only transformed out of MARC, but it's into the BIBFRAME vocabulary that now allows it to be published to the web for others to use, as well as for you to use yourself, building connections within your catalog and with other outside resources. So two of those resources happen behind the scenes. We are able to syndicate that data. We do this on a daily basis to two of our partners. The two partners that currently incorporate all of the BIBFRAME resources and all that data structure from EBSCO, one is Google and the other is the Internet Archive Open Library. So they use this information in very different ways. In the Google story, they receive a feed of your data and they reconcile that with what they know about your library. So in Google Maps, most all libraries and their branches have their own unique knowledge panel that says, here I am, I'm Oshkosh Public Library, and now I can see all of the connections if they're part of BiblioGraph that Oshkosh Public Library has in relationship to their catalog because of that reconciliation with Google Maps. What this means in practical reasons is that we then take all of that data, it's transformed over to Google, they incorporate it in their graph of information, and now they're going to disperse it into their products and services. So they currently here in the US use borrow options for library items in their search knowledge panels, in Google Books, in Get Books, and then also in the US, they have a mobile device application of what to read next. So anywhere your patrons are in the vicinity of your library, they're able to go into Google and they will see borrow options attached to the items that you hold there at the library. You'll notice here that there's different formats available. So Google actually receives from EBSCO all of the formats that are part of your catalog, so that when you take a look at the drop down, I can now see any one of these formats and click on that item, and I will land straight back into the catalog or the discovery layer of your choosing, and I will be able to take next steps to check that book out. If it's an ebook, perhaps I'm going to put a hold on it. So again, we talked in those early days about getting your items out of that MARC cataloged record and onto the web. Here's how BiblioGraph does just that. You now can go into Google and do a search of a title, and you will see, depending upon where you are, either 2 to 5 libraries with borrow options available for you to click on and land inside the catalog. The other thing I would just point out is that we do not collect any patron information, but we do track all of the clicks. So part of the BiblioGraph story is you will receive a recap of how many times users clicked on an item from Google and landed in your catalog. So the dashboard itself just has a high-level view of all of those clicks, but we do also have data detail, so you can actually get down to what titles are people searching, what devices are they on, what day of the week, if we had a program, did people go out and search for things and find us out there on Google. The other partnership that we have is that with the Internet Archive and their Open Library online catalog. So if you're familiar at all with Brewster Kahl's story, his goal is to make knowledge available to anyone, anywhere on the web. And he has now digitized, or his team has digitized over 5 million books that are available through their online catalog for checkout. But there's often a wait list, or maybe this is not a format that I'm interested in. So a user can click on the library.link icon, and they will then have returned back to them all of the libraries within a 250-mile radius that have that title. And I can click on any one of these branches, the one that's nearest to me, and I can then land in the catalog and take next steps, putting a hold on it, if it's an ebook, checking it out, or whatever is the next course of action, including signing up for a new library card. So those are people that actually use the data behind the scenes. That happens on a daily basis. You also have ways of being able to use your data yourself locally. So in this example here, we have created a local knowledge graph about the person of Michelle Obama. And so while we mentioned those unique identifiers in BIBFRAME, there's other sources that also have unique identifiers. So what you're seeing here is the identifier of Wikidata for Michelle Obama, coupled with the identifier that the library has. And that pairing together now allows you to have a graph of data with information from Wikidata, like you see here in the middle and her photo. You also have all of the items by the person of Michelle or about the person of Michelle Obama. And because of the linking that takes place, you now also can see links to other web resources like Wikipedia, Open Library, IMDb, etc. And so again, with just a couple of clicks, you now have the option of creating webs of graphs of information with both web resources and content that you have there at the library. And we've done a lot of these for libraries in memorandum of, or highlighting a particular person on a particular day. So there's a lot of uses behind the scenes for finding information just like this available. So the other service that's available with BiblioGraph is the ability to create widgets of information. I heard someone the other day refer to it as a virtual shelf, and I just really liked that. So we have tools within BiblioGraph that allows you to easily create carousels and widgets, easily be able to share them out there on the web, not just within your catalog or your website, but actually on community partner websites as well. And then just like with the Google traffic or the Open Library, you will be able to see the impact that those visual shelves had on other websites, bringing traffic straight back into your library. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go about doing this. One is you can just do a search within your BibFrame resources on the topic of anti-racism. And it's going to bring back everything that you have in this example, 103 items, all on that particular topic. Whether I want to share that on a website or on an event page or a program, Or maybe you're sharing it with the local school that's doing a real awareness day. Anywhere where a person has a website and they are able to embed the HTML code in an iframe, you now have the option of sharing that so that they can have this preview of everything you have at your library available to them. You also can share items on social media. So currently we support Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. But on any given item, if you were to push that out to your social media platform, when a user sees that and clicks on it, they will again land in your catalog. And so by clicking that embed, you're going to see here the option of a layout. So whether you want a carousel or a grid, the list is really great if you have items that don't have nice cover art because it's all text-based. And then a card is a combination of the two of those. But here you have the option of selecting your layout. The code will automatically be updated for you. You just copy that to your clipboard. And from there, your users, your webmaster, your community partners will have a view of your collection right there on their website. Now, because all of this data is what we refer to as living data and living lists, anytime you add or delete from your collection, and there's a topic of anti-racism in the MARC record, this list will automatically be updated with that. So there's a couple of different ways you can create these carousels. And when you come on board with BiblioGraph, one of the things that I do is work with libraries to talk about what's the best workflow for you. And we just walk through a couple of different scenarios. But with all of that, these are living lists that will automatically be updated every time we get that fresh new export of your catalog. You don't have to do any other heavy lifting. We also have another tool. It's probably one of my favorites. And we refer to it as the library.link collection tool. And what this is a place where all of the libraries on the network can share information and collaborate together. It's also a place where we have populated some lists already for you on your behalf. And so, for example, what you're seeing here is just in this screenshot is the 50 most banned books. So if you were having a banned book day at the library, any library on the network can take a look and see, based on that list that was recently published on the 50 most banned books, they can see what they have at the library. It will identify the different formats, and then you'll also be able to see what you don't have. Mixes are a little different. So mixes are a blending of persons, topic, places, etc., into one single view of your collection. And so those blending of subject headings together allow us to put together a preview of your collection that once again will automatically be updated every time your catalog is updated. So for example, essential reading about anti-racism in the United States, anytime you are to add or remove from that particular topic, that embedded list will automatically update for you, regardless of where you have shared the code. And with any of these, it's very easy. You click on the embed just like before, and it's going to give you the option of layout, whether it's a carousel, a grid, or that text list. And clicking on the embed, the code will come back for you. The thing that's a little bit different with the collections tool, with these lists and mostly with the list, is that now I can see this particular list had 50 titles, of which I had 45. So I can click on the list and see the 5 that are missing. I also can see all of the different formats that are missing as well. But again, that code that is there in between the two lines, once it's embedded onto a website or a web page, will automatically refresh every time your catalog is updated with new items. So there's another aspect of the service, and that is one of enrichment. So as many of you are familiar, novelist enrichment, there's this whole sweep of novelist services that are available. And a couple of those are applied to your BiblioGraph service. The novelist appeal terms. So I want to explain in more detail the appeal terms that will apply to any given item. Whether I want to have information about items that are big and bold for my story time, or whether I want all things creepy because we're getting ready to do something for Halloween. When you sign up for the novelist enrichment, all of those appeal terms will now be overlaid onto your BiblioGraph service so that you can then quickly and easily have a widget of data, as well as all of that content is fed to the web to make all those connections even more available to search engines and other things out there on the web looking for content and information. The other part of the novelist enrichment is that of the reading recommendation list that you find in Novelist Plus. So with novelist enrichment, you are going to get not only recommendations based on appeal terms, but you're also going to have over 2,500 ready-made lists that have been highly curated by the novelist team. So whether you are looking to have an ongoing award list page on your website, or whether you are going to be using the All Together Now summer reading suggestions, Novelist has prepared lists for you for just that opportunity to put that virtual shelf out there on your website. And again, just like we talked about before, the only content that will be part of those widgets are those items that you hold locally at your own library. And if you're not familiar at all with the Novelist Plus, they just have a whole host of libraries. And they not only have lists like for fans of that are latest movies or video games, but they have STEM lists, and they cover a whole multitude of reading levels as well. So again, within a couple of clicks, you have the option of having a virtual carousel of your library's collection embeddable on a website. And here's just a couple of examples. So again, I mentioned the big and bold. My grandkids are at that age where they like big pictures. And so we actually pulled this up and went and got some of these for the weekend. But you can see they have different reading levels, the STEM books I mentioned, or that for fans of list. So if you were talking with kids or young adults and they said, well, what's the latest thing you watched on Netflix? Oh, I just binged Daisy Jones and the Six. Well, you now have at your disposal quick and easy reading recommendations that you can share with your patrons. And then the last thing I want to touch on is just the engagement statistics. So I mentioned that we keep track of all of these statistics. We do that on a monthly cadence. And so what you're going to find is how many times did somebody land in my catalog when they were searching out there on Google and clicked on that borrow option. The link applications were those collections that we talked about, the banned books, or the views on sexism or anti-racism that were part of those mixes, because that is considered an application to using your BiblioGraph service. We capture that in the applications bucket. The embeds are going to be all of those pre-made lists from novelists and or any searching that you might do. If you remember the Michelle Obama, you can actually do a search of Michelle Obama and see a carousel view of all things by Michelle or all things about Michelle. So you can actually embed those not only as part of your graph, but you can also have those singled out and embed those individually on the web pages as well. And then the other web. So the other web, if you recall, I mentioned that all of your data is published to the Library Link Network. So while we do have that formal relationship with Google, other search engines have access to that data and can resurface it in their own organic searching results. Those things are a little bit difficult to duplicate because algorithms are always changing. And so we just kind of keep that in a catch-all bucket, the open web. So links that are found out there on the open web that brought a user or patron straight into your catalog. And social media are just those social media numbers that I mentioned. If you share something to social media and someone clicks on it, we capture that information as well. And then the open library are those internet archives. If somebody clicks on one of those items and lands into the catalog, we share that as well. The download CSV file, as I mentioned early on, it's just a lot of data that is available that you can have if you want to see things by date or by title, or if you're interested in how many people are using the library and discovering you out there on the web with mobile devices versus a desktop. All of that is captured in the CSV file. And again, we do not collect any patron information. So even in the example of somebody finding something on Google, when they land on that page in an item page, we couldn't tell you what happened next. A lot of libraries do couple Google Analytics with their BiblioGraph to get a little bit more deeper look into the Google conversation. But what you see here is simply the count, and then what you would see in the CSV log is the type of device that they used and what day and the title that was used. So that is concludes my presentation here of all things BiblioGraph. I would just encourage you, if you have more questions, to send those off to the team. And if you would like to do a deeper dive on how BiblioGraph and your library personally can interact, we can certainly schedule a call to do that one-on-one and do a deeper dive of all things BiblioGraph and how they can service the libraries there at WiLS.
Lori, this is
Lori.
Oh, sorry, Jeff. I was just going to say, yeah, just let us know if you have any interest in having a look at BiblioGraph. And between Daniel, Herrick, myself, Jeff, and Lori, we will be happy to set something up in a Zoom meeting or Teams meeting so that you can review with Lori a live demonstration.
Fantastic. I was about to say basically the same thing. So
Oh, good, good.
well
I
said,
thought I
Paula.
should try to say something, right, Jeff?
Well, Paula and Lori, thank you both so much for your time today, and for anyone watching live or watching on recording. I hope you're having a great afternoon, and do reach out if we can do anything for you. Take care, everyone. And
Great.
bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.